April is Confederate Heritage Month, and yes, unfortunately, that is a real thing. And so, in order to remind neo Confederates and Lost Cause ass clowns what their heritage is, the Sons of Liberty is executing a daily series throughout this entire month, commemorating anniversary events and honoring Southerners who remained loyal to the United States. If you're just coming across our content, make sure to follow the Sons of Liberty, as we'll be upsetting neo-Confederates and Lost Cause bigots all month long. Sarah Melinda, or Linda, Pritchard was born March 10, 1839, although some sources say 1842, in Alexander County, North Carolina. She became a close friend of William Keith McKesson Blalock. I have no idea how they got Keith out of William McKesson Blalock either, so don't ask, it's just what they call him. Now, their respective families were rivals for over 100 years, but despite this, Blalock and Pritchard married in 1861 when she was either 19 or 22. It being the year 1861, I think you know what happens next. Linda was initially sympathetic to a state's right to secede, but her husband Keith and his stepfather Austin Coffey, remember that name, were ardent Unionists, although Keith was personally opposed to Lincoln as president. It's interesting to note that Blalock's opposing views did not affect their marriage, and the two began plotting to escape. Keith was torn on how to do this, reasoning that if he enlisted, Linda would be left behind and at the mercy of politically opposed neighbors. Ultimately, Keith chose to enlist with the Confederate forces, reasoning that he could desert across Union lines, and local secessionists would see him enlisting and leave his wife alone. Unbeknownst to him, however, Linda masqueraded as Keith's brother Samuel and showed up at the unit's first mustering. Linda's enlistment and discharge papers survive as one of the few existing records of verifiable female soldiers, unlike another more famous celebrity of the era who went by the name Loretta Juanita Velasquez, and Loretta was ultimately proven to be a fraud. Now, both Samuel, or Linda, and Keith were proven to be excellent soldiers. Keith was promoted to sergeant, which he hoped would keep both of them above suspicion for when it was time to desert. Their chance came in April 1862 when their unit engaged a Union regiment and Linda was wounded. In the process, her true sex was discovered. Keith decided to go roll around in poison ivy and claimed that he had a highly contagious recurrent illness. Now, there's a lot that goes on here, so we'll just say that eventually, in short order, they were both discharged. Now, they weren't quite free just yet. The Confederacy, which had founded itself on the promise of states' rights, had enacted new draft laws requiring all soldiers in every state to re-enlist once they were healthy again. The couple fell in with other Confederate deserters and ultimately made their way into Tennessee. There, they joined guerrilla partisans and also became guides for the Underground Railroad, which in North Carolina was also aiding Union soldiers who had escaped from Confederate jails. And I have an excellent story about escaping from a Confederate prison for our year-long documentary web series that we're funding on Indiegogo. Linda and Keith, still good soldiers, were with 3rd North Carolina Mounted Infantry, a pro-Union group of volunteers fighting as raiders, and this unit was feared across the entire state and parts of Tennessee and Kentucky. In 1864, Keith enlisted in the 10th Michigan Cavalry Regiment. Remember when I said remember Austin Coffey? Confederate vigilantes murdered Austin Coffey and one of Austin's brothers, but 2 other brothers were injured in the attack and were able to identify their attackers. Keith tracked some of the vigilantes down after the war and he killed them. Keith would also later track down and murder an uncle who joined the Confederacy. During the war, the Blalocks participated in a pair of raids against a sympathizer family whose son was the officer who had initially recruited the Blalocks into the Confederacy. During the first raid, Linda was wounded in the shoulder, and this was not her first wound either. During the second one, Keith was shot in the eye and ended up losing it, and this wound can be seen in his photo. He would also later lose the use of a hand. After the war, they both had trouble getting their pensions. Linda died of natural causes in 1903. Keith, who was severely distraught, relocated the remainder of the family. In 1913, he was killed in a railroad accident, which many people speculate was not an accident and was to have been in revenge for wartime deeds. Keith would be buried next to his wife, and his grave unfortunately reads Keith Blalock, Private 26th Regiment NC Volunteers, Confederate States Army. For the entire month of April, the Sons of Liberty is running a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo to create a year-long web series on Civil War history. We have over 80,000 subscribers on just YouTube alone. So if just 10% of them gave $5 each, we'd be well past our funding goal. Funding this campaign means that the Sons of Liberty admins get to take you on an exciting historical journey and, at the same time, help to educate or debunk, depending, various bits of Civil War history, myths, legends, and lies. Reminder that the Confederacy were traitors who betrayed the United States and tried to destroy the Union out of spite. Reminder that heritage, not hate, is lost cause horseshit. Reminder that the lost cause narrative is revisionist history bullshit. Reminder that the South seceded over slavery and economic factors tied to slavery. Also, another reminder that the Confederacy is a bunch of traitors who lost, got their asses kicked in a war that they started, and were forced to beg to be readmitted back into the Union. P.S. Your flag is a participation trophy. Die mad about it, fuckface. Hashtag not sorry, not sorry.
And now it's time for the throw punch!